Information Station 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Thank you for tuning in this morning. 6 minutes after 11 o'clock, beautiful looking Monday morning. The book that we were most excited about for a couple of weeks now is ready to be talked about. It's called Letters to President Clinton, Biblical Lessons on Faith and Leadership, and it is written by our guest who's on the phone. He is a rabbi. He's known as Bill Clinton's rabbi, if I understand my notes right. Rabbi, and I'm going to take a shot at his name, Menachem Genack, and he's going to correct me if I said his name wrong. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Orthodox Union Kosher and the leading global certification program, one of the most influential and prominent members of the American rabbinate. And again, forgive me if I'm saying things wrong here. Again, Bill Clinton's rabbi. He's a publisher and editor, and the book is filled with letters that were exchanged between the rabbi and President Clinton. And let's find out about this from Rabbi Genack. Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Larry.
How did I do with your name, first of all?
You did fine.
Well, where are you? Where are you calling from?
Englewood, New Jersey.
Englewood, okay. And did kind of shop talk a little bit here. Did the echo go away on your end?
I have it a little bit, but I'm fine.
Okay. Thank you for being on the air with us. How far back do you and President Clinton go?
We go back for when he was Governor Clinton and was running for the presidency.
Oh, okay. And did he and forgive me for not knowing this, but did the president subscribe to a certain faith?
Well, the president himself is a Southern Baptist.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Did the relationship between you and he, because you're obviously a rabbi and he would be a Southern Baptist, did that get in the way at all, or could he see past that?
No, I mean, part of the subtext of this book is that, and President Clinton writes about it in the foreword, is, though he's a Southern Baptist, he's interested, in other traditions, and it speaks to his intellectual curiosity and his openness that interests him.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that makes sense. I mean, I can appreciate that greatly too. I think we're in that same boat. We have, I mean, sometimes when you first meet somebody, we have a couple of rabbis who've become friends of ours and friends of the show, and in the beginnings, it was always a little bit skittish, like maybe they didn't know if we were going to be antagonistic, but then we become friends, and we understand that learning about God can come from anybody who knows about God, a rabbi or a pastor or a priest or anybody who's studied it. So I guess that's where I was going with that. So did he write you? Did you write him? How did you guys get to know each other?
Well, it began when he was running for the presidency, when he was then Governor Clinton. There was an event for him in New Jersey, and I introduced him at that event. And if you recall, there was in some quarters there was some criticism of President Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush, saying he lacked the vision. Bush used to mock that and speak about the vision thing. And so when I introduced then Governor Clinton, I said that vision is an essential ingredient of leadership, and I cited the verse in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people perish. And he liked that citation, and he said, you know what, I'm going to use that in my acceptance speech at the convention. And indeed he did. It became one of his themes in his acceptance speech, and we'd pivot to it, coming back to it. And that's how the relationship began.
And did your letters reflect, like as we read through the book, do your letters reflect what he was going through at different points in his life?
Yes, they do. The book is broken up. There are about 100 letters that are included in the book, and these were letters that I would send to him. Often he would write back, and they relate to different themes. That's why they're broken up into different sections: leadership, community, creation, sin and repentance. So those related to different things that I thought were important to him in terms of his leadership, or different things that were happening to him. during his presidency in his life.
One of the most interesting letters I found was Sarah and Esther. I really like the book of Esther in the Bible, and your analysis as to how she could lead so many different countries, 127, I think you said, is just amazing to me. She was a very wise woman, and she knew how to get things done and the approach that should be used.
In that letter, I was just speaking about the Talmud tells us that it's ironic. Each week we read a different section of the Bible, of the Torah, and this coming week, that's the section we're going to read about Sarah. And Sarah lived to be 127 years, and the Talmud makes an association between that and Esther, who and her husband Ahasuerus, who king of Persia, who ruled over 127 nations or provinces, and that's I guess the association is between Sarah and Esther. How their lives, their parallel stories. Sarah is kidnapped and abducted from her husband Abraham, as is Esther is abducted and put into the royal harem. And how does Esther get the wits and the political cunning after she's a young girl to outwit the nefarious Haman? And it's because of these qualities of it's not outside appointment. It's a regal quality, internal. I'll tell you a funny story that Marty, who was a distinguished professor at the University of Chicago, he's Professor Emeritus now of Christian history. He told me that he was once with a group of very distinguished Christian leaders meeting with President Clinton at the White House, and all kinds of different streams, evangelicals, Catholics, different Protestant denominations. And one of them told the president, Mr. President, I'm praying for you. And President Clinton asked him, well, what are you praying? And he said, I'm praying from Chronicles, and he cited a verse. And he said, I'm praying from Chronicles 1. And Clinton told him, I think that's in Chronicles 2. So it speaks to how how knowledgeable President Clinton was of the Bible.
Oh wow, that's pretty amazing.
Just coming back to your mention of Esther, and he said, another one said, I want you, I want to be your Mordecai, and Clinton said, should I play Esther? So,
oh gosh.
Oh wow. So he really was well versed on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Very well versed.
Do we play politics with religion? Like people who, it seems like sometimes people who don't like an elected official like to make them out to be heathens and atheists.
Yeah.
and it turns out sometimes that the people who they're pointing fingers at are actually pretty knowledgeable about the Bible.
Well, our greatest president was Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln lost his first congressional election, and one of the claims against him was that he was sort of a heathen, that he didn't go to church, that he was a scoffer. And it's true that in a technical sense, he wasn't, he didn't really belong to a certain denomination. But he was, if not, I always used to say about Lincoln that he's our least religious but most religious president. Least religious in the formal sense in terms of committing to specific denomination.
Yeah.
But most religious in the sense of spirituality, which the great moral force that Lincoln represented.
I can see
it's reflected. His biblical knowledge is reflected in all his speeches, especially his greatest speech, the second inaugural.
Yeah, I can see already why Mr. Clinton was drawn to you. Obviously, you're a wise man.
Thank you.
One of the things that must be, at least in modern times, one of the things that must be most weighing on any president is the Israel-Palestinian situation. Did your letters to him help him make decisions regarding anything associated with that?
Well, some of those letters that deal with that actually weren't incorporated in the book, some of them, because they weren't on biblical themes. But, Shimon Peres, who the current president of Israel, wrote an endorsement for the book, and he writes that President Clinton is well known to be a true friend of Israel, and therefore we're not surprised that he looks to the Bible also, the Book of Books, as Peres calls it. Clinton had a tremendous affinity for Israel. I traveled with him to Israel several times, and there was tremendous affection in Israel for Bill Clinton and for Hillary Clinton. And I saw that when the first time I traveled with him was when he went for the Jordanian-Israeli peace signing in the Arava, and we traveled to Israel and to Jordan. And the amazing thing, this was in October 1994, and when it was just a few weeks before the House elections, when the House switched, and the Democrats lost control of the House, and there was at that time he had a lot of difficulty here in America, but just the irony to see the love and adulation that he had. If he'd run for Prime Minister of Israel, he would have been elected.
Oh, wow. Our guest is Rabbi Menachem Genack. Am I saying your name right, Rabbi?
Yes, that's fine.
And the book is Letters to President Clinton, Biblical Lessons on Faith and Leadership. And now I guess I understand now why some letters I was thinking would be in there were not in there, because you wanted this book to represent the biblical lessons.
Right, but I mean, you can see the theme of Israel, which you just articulated, comes up. There's a letter in a missive written by Noah Rotman, who is Yitzhak Rabin's granddaughter. You may remember that she spoke at his funeral. President Clinton was at that funeral, and after he was assassinated, Rabin was assassinated, and she was a teenager, and she spoke about her grandfather, how he was the column of fire before the camp, and she has a beautiful letter to President Clinton, and about the special relationship that Yitzhak Rabin had with President Clinton. There's another letter written by Eliakim Rubinstein, who was one of the chief negotiators of the between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and President Clinton wrote him a note, which I included in the book, handwritten notes, thanking him for it, and he said, thanking him for his close relationship with Rabin, and he writes, President Clinton writes, I think about Yitzhak Rabin. I miss him every day.
Why do you think people still embrace Bill Clinton and revere him even after that tumultuous time with his infidelity? Were you there during that process?
Well, these correspondence, span that period as well. There's a section there on sin and redemption and repentance.
Right.
I think because they know that they know not just about him, but they know about each of us, that we have strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes we fail ourselves, and that's true about everybody. But when we look at a person, and we have to look at them in balance, that's, in terms of the Jewish tradition, we believe on the high holy days, on Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, God judges everybody, the entire world, and he's sort of, in his divine scales, he evaluates, your good points and your bad points, and each of us have both, and and it looks at you in balance. And I think if anybody looks at Bill Clinton in balance, he's an extremely attractive person. And you see what he's doing now with the Clinton Global Initiative. That initiative has saved literally the lives of millions of people. Just the work that he's done in terms of AIDS in getting medicine at low cost, making it available in Africa. These are really important achievements in terms of governance, climate change.
Yeah, and the world...
And I think people know that he's very, very smart and was a good president.
The world has a funny way of looking at sexual infidelity, and in fact, if you ask any political analysts, they'll say it wasn't the sexual infidelity that got everybody upset. It was the lying under oath that got everybody upset. But the truth is, the attention to that whole part of his life was, and I think you were just hinting at it or coming right out and saying it, Rabbi, is that that's all of us. I mean, we all have that. There was, again, I'm not a biblical scholar, but I think it was a part of the Jesus story where he says, whoever is without sin cast the first stone, right? With the lady that was a prostitute, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the way it is. But I don't know. Did you advise him at all on that, though? Whether he should just come out and just say he did it or maintain that he didn't do it?
He had asked me advice at the, after the. I mean, and just to be upfront, I was very offended by the impeachment process because I think all of us knew that it didn't reach the level constitutional requirement for high crimes and misdemeanors. And I think, when you looked at the array of the people who were his accusers in the House, it was really stunning that they all had the same burden. Mm-hmm. The Speaker of the House, the next Speaker who was supposed to become Speaker but had to step down because of that, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee who, said that he had a youthful indiscretion. So, it came down just to partisan politics and what he would call the politics, and I agree with it, the politics of destruction. So,
Rabbi,
try to find a person at his most weak
Rabbi, one
point
of the letters that you wrote spoke to something that I've thought about. I've often said this, that there seems to be a lot of differences among the people of the world. The one thing we seem to agree on is that there are 7 days in the week. And I said that kind of as a joke. I mean, keep in mind, my job is basically an entertainer. And so I always say, we all agree that there's 7 days in the week. That's a good starting point, and that we should build on that. When I was reading the letter you wrote about the Sabbath, it was very profound.
Actually, I don't think I wrote that. Cynthia Ozick wrote that piece.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I was just reading through the book and thinking that you wrote all of them. Okay. But that particular letter, Cynthia is the writer's name?
Yeah, Cynthia Ozick is one of America's best novelists.
Okay, I'm sorry. And she basically said that the Sabbath is unnatural. The birds don't stop flying for a day.
Right.
The fish don't stop swimming.
Right.
This was a God-ordained thing. And I thought, well, that's so profound, you know? And it makes sense.
Yeah,
we're different. We're different from the animals. There's so many differences. And I mean, we laugh. I don't think the animals laugh.
That's one of the letters you wrote about, was about the donkey and the animals, about how God gave voices only to the humans.
Well, that's actually one thing that he did ask me advice about. What I wrote to him about was the need. I just want to get back, but I'm going to tell you what I said. But there's one thing that you said that I want to emphasize. I don't have it all in the book, but I read a book about this once. It's very interesting that universally there's this notion of a week, 7 days. And 7 days there's no really astronomical reason 7 days. It doesn't represent a portion of, so it must have been that it goes all the way back. It has to have a biblical root. Why 7 days?
Right, I know. It's interesting.
But, yeah.
Well, I thought that too. I mean, it doesn't seem to follow anything in nature. There's no sun, no moon.
It's not like a month. A month, there's a lunar cycle, or the year there's a solar cycle.
Right.
But why a week?
Right.
7 days.
Right.
So I just want to get back to what you had mentioned about the donkey. What I sent him was a letter about in the Midrash, in the Talmud. There's a discussion. It says, why is it that animals, only what you just mentioned, only humans can speak? Why not animals? And it says, because if our animals could speak, especially in an agrarian society, we have animals around us all the time, they would tell all our sins and foibles, and no one could exist because there'd be no privacy at all. So I sort of drew from that privacy is not just, it's more than just a right. It's an existential need. It's built into creation. And I thought that the barrier was breached in the case of President Clinton. Even if he sinned or did something wrong, there are limits, and people have a right, and including presidents, since it's an existential need, for privacy. Because at the time, there were those who thought, no, presidents don't have a right for privacy. And so when he... Please.
I'm sorry, Rob. I don't mean to interrupt you. There's a little delay here, so that is probably causing it, and I apologize for that. I was just going to say that I was watching an interview with Woody Allen not too long ago, and Woody Allen went through an episode 2 where he was dating or married his wife's adopted daughter, right? Mm-hmm. And his feelings about that was, he said, I couldn't believe how many people had an opinion about my personal life. Mm-hmm. And, well, he's a public figure. I guess it's just human nature to have that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. His privacy was in this obviously more microscopic when it comes to being the president. This is the interesting thing about how we are with people. If we heard, for example, that Hugh Hefner was having an affair, nobody would care. But if you hear that a president is having an affair, it's big news, right?
Well, one could distinguish between Hugh Hefner and the President of the United States. I would hope.
Before I mentioned a letter that you had not written. So explain the book. The book has many letters that you did write, but then you also started incorporating other people to write the letters to the president?
Two things. I mean, the book has... I wrote most of the letters, but not all of them. I'd say I wrote about half of them. And half of them were written in conference with other people who I would sort of solicit. They were friends of mine or colleagues of mine, and they would send it to me, and I would send it to the president.
What's interesting, too, just for the readers to know, is that the reply from President Clinton is also often printed in the book. In fact, it looks like you've scanned the actual letter with the letterhead so that we could all see the return message that the president sent regarding the particular letter that we just read.
It seems since the beginning of time we've always had that diversity, and that diversity is addressed in the Rainbow Letter.
Yes, that was written by Rabbi Soloveitchik.
One of the things that comes up the most, I guess, for us is reincarnation, life after death. That sort of thing. Does that was there a topic that maybe was more often questioned or discussed? Was there a favorite line of dialogue that the president had? Well,
actually, that was not one of them. But the book is broken up into different themes. So one of them is sin and repentance, which we sort of address, but also leadership. And I'd say most of it dealt with leadership, faith, trying to give, how in dark days do we look to the future and not give up hope.
Mm-hmm.
The ability always to, Bill Clinton comes from Hope, Arkansas. I think that's one of the things we look to him for, is that optimistic view that I think is essential in a leader, even in the darkest days, to be able to see the light on the horizon.
As I mentioned, this was one of those books we were very anxiously awaiting to be able to speak about with the author and editor. Rabbi Menachem Genack is our guest. The book is called Letters to President Clinton. I have a copy, nice hardcover book. Mm-hmm. I'd like to give it away. If you would like it, call me, and it's yours. It'll be waiting for you here at the studio. The number is 622-9622. That's the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. And Rabbi, if you could tell us how the rest of us can go buy it. Do you have a website you can tell us about?
Well, you can get it at Barnes & Noble. The publisher is Sterling, which is a division of Barnes & Noble. You can get it at on Amazon. We have a website at ou.org, www.ou.org.
Okay, ou.org meaning Orthodox Union?
Orthodox Union.
Okay.
.org.
And I like the letter that you had written that's titled, Where There Is No Vision, the People Perish. I mean, people have to have vision. Even if you're an individual going through this life with your family, you have to have some kind of vision to keep your life in check and to keep moving forward.
Yes.
I think so. Rabbi, thank you for being on the air with us today, and you're definitely welcome back anytime.
Thanks very much for having me.
Good interview. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give them a call and they'll come and pick it up. For more information, visit habitatocala.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County, building homes, building hope, building community.
Aliens, Alice!
Yes, George. George, you're all wet.
I went to Devon's self-storage and put back my fishing gear.
Okay. You know Devon's self-storage is open early and you had all day to bring your fishing gear back. And they're right across from Hobby Lobby.
I know. I have my own code to get into Devon's self-storage. And their phone number, too, is 873-0777.
So why did you wait till it started raining?
I didn't. I slipped getting the boat out of the water.
Boat?
Bye!
George?
News Talk 1370 WOCA invites you to discover your full business potential. News Talk Radio is the perfect environment for your advertising. WOCA's News Talk format pinpoints information-hungry, better educated, high-income adults. So use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000. 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370 WOCA.
Hey, I'm Gary. And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
How good does it get?
Golf has long been considered to be sport's most prestigious game, and WOCA has your connection to everything in the golf world. Every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m., tune in for Let's Talk Golf with your host, PGA professional and teacher to the stars, Jim Beckett, and operations manager for the Links of Spruce Creek South, Darren Irwin, right here on The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, a new spoiler, and a new trunk.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
Don't ever miss a single edition of the Mike Huckabee Show. We're going to have a whole lot of fun talking the big issues of the day. We'll talk to the newsmakers and the issues that made them a newsmaker, as well as we'll bring you some entertainment, some fun. You never know what's going to happen on the Mike Huckabee Show. Don't miss it.
Join Mike Huckabee every weekday from noon to 3 exclusively on WOCA The Source.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida. For today, partly sunny, warm and humid. There can be a shower or thunderstorm in spots, the high 84 to 88. A shower or thunderstorm around this evening, then partly cloudy and warm overnight, low 69 to 73. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm around, mainly in the afternoon, the high 83 to 87. For Wednesday, clouds, some sun, a shower or thunderstorm, high 80 to 84. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Here are today's headlines from The Source, WOCA. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, along with the U.S. Marshals Service, are reporting that they have arrested escaped inmates Charles Walker and Joseph Jenkins, both 34 years old. The Bay County Sheriff's Office had been working closely with the United States Marshals Florida Regional Fugitive Task Force, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Florida Department of Corrections, and the Panama City Police Department to figure out where the two men could be. The Sheriff's Office says on Saturday at approximately 5:20 p.m., authorities narrowed down their search to the Coconut Grove Motor Inn in Panama City Beach. About 20 members of the task force surrounded the room they were in and used a PA system from one of the patrol cars to instruct Jenkins and Walker to come out. Both men walked out of the room calmly and put their hands in the air. Inmate Charles Walker, who is 34 years old, was serving life without the possibility of parole on a second-degree murder conviction from Orange County. He escaped from Franklin Correctional Institution on October 8th after the Department of Corrections received fraudulent release documents from the clerk of the court. Inmate Joseph Jenkins, also 34 years old, was serving a life without the possibility of parole on a first-degree murder conviction from Orange County. He escaped from Franklin Correctional Institution on September 27th after the Department of Corrections received a fraudulent release document for him from the clerk of the court. A female Volusia County Sheriff's deputy was arrested for DUI in a marked patrol car on Saturday night while driving with her 7-year-old child in the vehicle with her. Witnesses say they observed a Volusia County Sheriff's Office patrol car swerving down the road during the Biketoberfest event. The deputy is identified in the report as Stephanie Leclerc. Witnesses called 911 after the patrol car almost hit a civilian car. Videotape footage recorded by witnesses shows the car being driven irresponsibly. The sheriff's office says when they made contact with Leclerc, she agreed to a field sobriety test, but she failed it 8 times. The report also states she refused to do a breathalyzer test. The 37-year-old was arrested and charged with DUI. The sheriff's office said Leclerc has been with the department since 1999 and is assigned to court services in the Volusia County Courthouse Annex in Daytona Beach. Yesterday, she was placed on paid administrative leave. A pharmacy worker is under arrest accused of stealing $100,000 worth of pills from Walmart in DeLand during an 8-month period. By her own admission, Rachel Parkins stole more than 4,500 hydrocodone pills since February, according to authorities, but the Drug Enforcement Agency said the number could be as high as 20,000. According to the arrest record, Parkins admitted to stealing up to 90 pills a day. The DEA said it's an ongoing investigation and more arrests are possible. Parkins is being held on $27,000 bond. A 5 to 6 foot long alligator wandered to the front door of an Apopka Walmart just before midnight last night. Employees had to close off one side of the entrance because the alligator decided to rest against the side of the door. Police responded to the scene to make sure shoppers were safe, but the alligator wandered back into a pond behind the store after about an hour. The jackpot in the Florida Lotto game has grown to $20 million after no one matched the 6 winning numbers in the latest drawing, according to lottery officials in a statement issued yesterday. 27 tickets matched 5 numbers. Each of those won $6,796.50. 1,648 tickets matched 4 numbers for $78.50 each, and 33,840 tickets matched 3 numbers for $5 each. The winning Florida Lotto numbers selected Saturday night were 2, 3, 15, 39, 44, and 49. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida. For today, partly sunny, warm and humid. There can be a shower or thunderstorm in spots, the high 84 to 88. A shower or thunderstorm around this evening, then partly cloudy and warm overnight, low 69 to 73. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm around, mainly in the afternoon, a high 83 to 87. For Wednesday, clouds and sun, a shower or thunderstorm, high 80 to 84. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Please do not attempt to adjust the internet. There have been technical difficulties on 2 fronts. Facebook users have been having trouble changing their status today, and the government's health insurance website has been glitchy for weeks. President Obama is expected to announce a system fix at the White House within the hour. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's administration has formally withdrawn its appeal to legalized same-sex marriages, removing a major roadblock to the ruling. New moms are being warned of the possible dangers of buying breast milk from strangers. Testing on 100 samples bought at 2 popular milk-sharing websites found 75% contained bacteria, including strep, staph, and salmonella. Would-be homebuyers got scared off by sticker shock last month. Home sales dropped nearly 2% because of higher mortgage rates. Oprah Winfrey's holding a huge online yard sale to get rid of excess stuff as she moves into a new place, and it's all for charity. Moviegoers were aching for adventure. Gravity was the #1 movie at the box office for the 3rd straight week. Captain Phillips second. This is ABC News.
Are you a woman over 40? Do you want to lose weight and body fat? Does it seem harder than ever to lose weight? Do you ever experience hot flashes or have trouble falling asleep? You're not alone, and it's not your fault. Stubborn weight gain, hot flashes, and sleeplessness are common symptoms of menopause. But here's some great news about 2 great products. Amberen can help you balance hormones and relieve your hot flashes, sleeplessness, irritability, and other symptoms of menopause. And you can finally lose weight. Yes, even that stubborn body fat with Amberen Weight Loss, a powerful new product that'll help you get the results you want. Call now and ask how you can receive a free sample of Amberen Weight Loss and start losing weight. Just call 1-800-335 1-800-335-3677. You can finally lose the weight and all those other awful menopause symptoms. But you must call now. Hurry, this is a limited time offer. To claim your complimentary free sample, call right now at 1-800-335-3677. That's 1-800-335-3677.
Horsepower and Horse Country returns with the Ocala Pumpkin Run 3-day car show and festival. Friday, October 25th through Sunday the 27th on Castro Farms, Highway 27 west of I-75. Hundreds of acres filled with classics and customs, a concert series, vendors, food, lifestyle tent, and free activities for the kids Saturday and Sunday. Pony rides, pumpkin decorating, hay rides, face painting, and more. Children 11 and under free. Get your tickets now at OcalaPumpkinRun.com. Join the car show like no other. Ocala Pumpkin Run, October 25th through the 27th.
Myth of the Meatless Monday. That story coming up on This Land of Ours.
Heard about fraud and allegations of corruption in Gulf spill claims? Now there's something you can do. If you know someone who submitted or helped prepare a fraudulent claim or have information